literature, we are going to be reading Columbus. Now, we're not going to read about Columbus yet because there is some stuff we have to learn before we read about Columbus. All right, so today we're going to talk about seven loves. After we talk about seven loves, our next literature page, we are going to learn about the author of Columbus, because we should probably know about the book we're reading. We should know about who wrote the book and their story. Just like we're talking about our history, we want to learn other people's history too. All right, so before we read this book, we're going to do our seven loves page, and then the author study, and then we'll move on to the book. So for our seven loves page, it looks like this. It says literature. And what is literature? Say it with me if you remember. Literature is the best, so the best written expression of the best thought. Say it with me and do your hands if you have to. Sometimes it's easier if we have hand motions. So say, literature is the best written expression of the best thought. Excellent, excellent job. All right, so it says literature, the seven loves. We're gonna find out what seven loves is right now. When we read books, we need to always be looking for these seven loves that God has put in our hearts. Now remember, in our page from last week on literature, we talked about how to find a good literature book. It says things that are true, that are honest, that are just, that are of good virtue, all right? Those are good literature books. Now, things that are honest and true and of good virtue and of loveliness, those types of books are going to be right here, okay? So we're going to find out what kind of books those are exactly. So let's see. Love for, the first one says God. So often if you see a book and it's talking about God, it's going to talk about what? About his love, about being just and true, all right? Now God's word, again, the Bible talks about about having good virtue, okay? What we learned about last week coincides with what we're learning about this week. All right. So in our book, when we read Columbus, we are gonna look for these things right here. And when you read any book, when you pick up a book, you're gonna be able to read and determine for yourself. That means find out for yourself if it shows any of these seven loves, okay? So the first one says love for God. Does the book show any love for God? All right, the next one is love for God's word. So what's God's word? The Bible, all right? Are they reading the Bible, or do they have a Bible that they're opening up and reading for themselves? Let's turn the page. The next one is love for learning, all right? Do they have a passion to want to learn more? Or is your book just talking about, like I said earlier, a kid that's just sitting on the couch watching TV and doesn't want to do anything and he's having a bad day? No, he's wanting to go out and explore and learn about insects and creatures and new world, all right? The next one is love for nature, all right? Is the book talking about maybe hurting an animal, or is it talking about protecting an animal? Is it talking about maybe you see an animal and he doesn't have a home and he looks kind of sick, so maybe you're giving him food in the book and not hurting him, all right? Love for nature. And is it just talking about animals? No, it's talking about plants. Are we destroying God's creation? No. The earth. Okay, maybe. All right, so our next one is love for liberty. So love for liberty is the love for doing something that is right. So that means we're free. We can choose to be evil and do mean things. We can choose to go and knock down our brothers or sisters or our cousins' toys when they built something great. Or we can choose to not do that. We can choose to, be careful, watch where you're stepping so that you don't knock down their masterpiece, all right? It's caring to do what is right and doing what is right, all right? All right. All right, your next one is family. Love for family. Is your book talking about, maybe like we learned, not listening to our parents the first time? Maybe talking back to our parents after our parents tell you, oh, I want a candy. Your mom says no. But why? I said I want a candy now. No, it's about loving your family, loving your parents, loving your siblings. All right. After that, if we turn the page for the last time, the last one says the love for individuality. God made me a unique individual. All right, so what does it say? God made you a unique individual, just like we learned in history that God made you special. He made you with a purpose. All right, he fashioned us to look like him, even though we all look different. All right, a love for individuality. That means we're not all robots. We're not all gonna write our name extremely beautiful. We're not all gonna have long, gorgeous hair like Isabella and Jayla. All right, we're not gonna have, let's see, beautiful short hair like Rocio. Okay, everyone is different. Okay, even Christian and Gabriel, they're twins and they look the same, but somehow they still look different. There's little bits of parts of them, little slight details in their face that look different. Their personalities are two completely different personalities, okay? Even though Ezra and Aiden always have spiky hair, and I think Mateo at times has spiky hair too, do they all look the same? No, they look completely different. It's their individuality. All right, so what we're gonna do is this right here. If you are group A, so Mateo, Rocio, and Josias, we have some pictures right here. I'm gonna tell you in just a minute where to glue the pictures as we talk about these things again, and that's it. You're just gonna glue them on. If you are group 2, which is Isabella, Jayla, Christian, Gabriel, Aiden, and Ezra, you guys will glue these down, but also I have given you guys a cursive sheet, which looks like this right here. All right, and with this cursive sheet, if you forget how to write some words in cursive, you guys are going to rewrite these words right underneath or right on top or on the side, wherever you have room. So for the first one, it says God, you're gonna look on here, you're gonna find what your G looks like, what your O looks like, all right, what your D looks like, and you're gonna write God in cursive on the page, all right? Same with God's word, same with love, of learning, nature, all of them, okay? So that's what you're gonna do if you're group 2. Group B, I'm sorry, not group 2. All right, so let's do the first one together. Let me shuffle through these cards. So you should cut out your cards like this. Let me shuffle through them, shuffle through them. Ooh, let's do this one first here. Okay, so my first picture looks like this. Okay, and if you look, it's green. There's grass, and there's a home, and it looks like there's a mommy and daddy, a little sister, and a boy. All right, so which category would this go under? Would that be love of God, love of God's word? Does this picture look like the love of learning, the love of nature, the love of liberty, the love of family, or the love of individuality? That's right, it's the family. So it's the love of family. So this picture would go right here for love of family. All right, now our next one is going to be like this. It's a beautiful landscape of a lake and some mountains, some trees, some clouds. I'll put the picture right up here. Now, what is that a picture of? Let's see. Go ahead and tell me a stop when you guys see it. Love for God, love for God's word, love for learning, or love for nature. If you told me to stop because I said love for nature, you are correct. This is a beautiful picture and it shows a love for nature. So that would be glued on right there. And then don't forget, you'd write it in cursive right next to it if you're group B. Your next one is, let's see. Wow, it's a picture of a cloud. And if you look closely, you can kind of see, I think that's Jesus in the clouds. All right, so which one would this be? Love for God or love for God's word? That's right, love for God. It's a picture of God. We can't really see him, but it's definitely him. So we're gonna glue that one right here, just like that. Excellent job, beginners. And your next one, let's see, let me shuffle through these. Ooh, let's look at this one. It's a group of kids and looks like they're all helping each other work on a problem together. Where would this go? Love for God, love for God's word, love for learning, love for nature. Oh, if you told me to stop, yep, it's because it's love for learning. So I would glue this one right here, just like this. Perfect, we're almost done. The next one is almost done. Like this, it's a Bible and there's a holy light shining on it. So what would this one be for? Love for God or love for God's word? That is correct. Love for God's word. Great job. Now remember, if you're group B, write your words next to it. So pause the video if you have to. The next one is a group of kids. And if you look closely, do we see any kids that look alike? I don't. I think all these kids look completely different. They're all different individuals. So would this be God, God's word, love for learning, love for nature, love for liberty, love for family, or love for individuality? That's right, love for individuality, like this. Great job. And our last one, it looks like this. It's chains that are breaking, all right? Because there is freedom in liberty. So this would be for what? Love of liberty. So your last one would go right here. Now really quickly, group B, write the words. Take your time. If you need to pull out a ruler, ask someone to draw a line for you, draw a line. Write the words nice and beautiful. Take your time. All right, and this is the 7 loves. So make sure you guys really memorize the 7 loves, okay? Because when you read a book, you're gonna be able to identify for yourself if that book is showing 7 loves. If that's a book that is talking about God or God's word or liberty or nature or individuality, all right? If it's talking about those things, then it's a good book because it's teaching us to love. But if it's not, is it teaching us to love anything? No. So does the story maybe have a good story behind it? Probably not. It's probably not teaching us something that's going to stick with our heart, stick in our hearts, or something that we can apply to our lives. All right. So make sure you guys memorize these.